Hi, my name is Candace and this is my booktube channel. I'm changing where I'm filming it. I'm trying to see what I like best. I like this so far and I'm sitting on the floor. So, but today I'm coming at you with a review for The Girl with All the Gifts. So I'm going to do my best to not have any spoilers in this. However, it's hard to do a review of a book such as this, like a thriller, suspense, action type of book without doing without having some spoilers, but I will do my best. So this is by MR Carey, Mike Carey, and it was later adapted into a movie starring Glenn Close and some other actors and actresses that I did not remember the names or know, but I thought that they did a really, really good job. But more about the movie later, because I love comparing movies with books. And this is going to be a surprisingly positive comparison of the two. So this book is not a big book. It is about, this one actually came with some extras. It's just over 400 pages. So synopsis real quick. The Girl with All the Gifts is basically about the zombie apocalypse type story. It's set in the future in England, and we are on a military style base. It's guarded by military, but the primary reason for this base at this time is for scientific research. So they have discovered these children who are, so they're not zombies because it's not an infection, it's a virus, and they call them hungries. I don't know why. I think it has something to do with a copyright issue. Tell me if you know why they don't really call them zombies. I don't know why. Maybe they're just trying to be unique. But anyways, so they're doing these scientific experiments on these children that they find that are hungries. However, they exhibit human-like qualities. They're able to learn, to retain knowledge. They're basically children until they get a taste or a smell of your scent, and then that's whenever they kind of go batshit. So, which I think is, they really delve in, Carey. One of the things that I love most about this book is that he explains through the different characters the world that they live in the way that that character would present it. So I'll give you an example. The main, who I think really is the main character, Melanie, who is the girl with all the gifts, our main little hungry kid, she explains the world around her in the way that she sees it. You know, all she knows is this cubicle. She sees things and it relates it to a story that she heard about in class. You know, she only knows this small bit of world, and everything else that we see it through her eyes. But then you have the teacher who remembers a time before, and you see everything through her eyes. But I think, so the only part that I was like, I'm really not grasping this, was the doctor. So, and she's I guess the antagonist of the book. Actually kind of related to her a little bit, which was interesting. But the way that she explains things is strictly science. I mean, there were just pages in the book where I was like, I'm not comprehending this. I took up little bits and pieces, you know, because she's really the one who's explaining how it is that these things came to be, and I grasped the overall concept. So if you're one of those people that is a very scientific thinker, this isn't going to be so dense that you're going to be bored with it, because you do get that perspective of the scientist, and her thoughts are written as she would think them, which is amazing. Like I feel as though even though the plot didn't move forward very quickly because I mean there was a lot of downtime. The fact that we got to jump from mind to mind and memory to memory really kept things moving in a very interesting way. I loved this book. And then we have the two soldiers who are our primary military characters in the book, and that is Sergeant Parks. So he's like, if you're in the military, he is salty, and he's just straight up salty, and you know exactly what I mean by that. Like, he's seen everything, he's just tired, he just wants a drink, he doesn't really care, you know, he just wants to get the mission done and go on about his day. He just wants people to not F up, basically. And he's kind of got this rhythm down, but then Melanie comes in and she screws that up, and you know, you've got the teacher, Miss Helen, Miss Justino, and you know, she messes all of that up, and it's really interesting to see things through his perspective as well, because you know, on the outside he's all tough, but it's not that inside he's a gooey teddy bear, but he gets humanized, which I really appreciated. They didn't go so opposite in the other direction with his like internal struggles that you're like, oh gosh, this is so typical. Of course he's just this gushy romantic and on the inside. No, I mean, he's a legit person, and I felt as though, as somebody who used to be in the military, I felt as though that was very well portrayed. And then we have the private, which, and I'm going to talk about the biggest difference in his character whenever I get to the movie part. But I thought that his story was very interesting too, because he comes from his background, his childhood was very traumatic, very abusive, and you know, he's kind of one of those people that like ran away to the military. Hello, I feel like that's almost every single enlisted person, or most enlisted people. So it was interesting, like he even had his own internal struggle. So I felt as though most of the characters in this book had a strong character development, which is something that I love, while at the same time there was a lot of action, which I know a lot of people will more kind of gravitate towards those type of books. So I feel as though if you like action and plot over character development, you'll still like this book. But if you're one who's like, you can't deal with a book if there's no character development, you're gonna like this book. Like, it's just good. So let's see, who else? Oh, the reason why I related to the doctor. So everyone's actions are driven, this is another thing that I love about the book. Everyone's actions are driven by the way that, you know, their lives previous to or their survival have led up to it. So, you know, the actions of the private are very obviously driven by the abuse that he dealt with as a child. The actions of the sergeant are driven by everything that he's seen in combat. You know, Miss Justino, her past, which we get a glimpse into, and definitely the doctor. So the doctor is merely driven by her research and the overall mankind. So is it better to save the life of one or to save the life of many? And you see this struggle going back and forth between individuals. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I related to her, because I'm like, well, she makes sense, you know, if her way works out, then maybe we can save everybody. So why try and save this one little special girl? Which the reason why the girl is special is because, I don't know why I didn't explain this at the beginning of the video, but the reason why she is being kept alive is because she is able to at least somewhat control her hunger. It takes a while, but they start seeing instances of her being able to control it because of her love for Miss Justino, which the book that's kind of one thing that irked me about the book. It didn't illustrate that in the best way. It was kind of hard to distinguish exactly how the writer wanted you to interpret that love. I guess you can interpret it however you want to. But maybe I was just trying to figure out how he wanted it to be interpreted too much, and that kept me from being able to do it on my own. But whatever. So, as far as differences in the movie, now I watched the movie with my husband. He had really been wanting to watch it for a while, and I told him I had to read the book before we could watch the movie, so I read it like in 3 or 4 days. But I loved the movie. I thought it was a great adaptation of the book. If you're going to do this book in one movie, which I think it could have easily been a limited series so that we could have gotten into the characters a little bit more, but if you're going to do one movie for this book, that was the best way to do it. Obviously, there were some changes. Obviously, there were some huge things that were left out, but I didn't think that it took away from the story or the meaning or the ending whatsoever. So one of the things that my husband really didn't like about the movie is there's a critical scene with the private, and he just couldn't understand why Private Gallagher made, I hope I'm not getting these names wrong, I read this like a couple weeks ago, but there's a pivotal scene where the private is making this decision, and my husband just couldn't grasp why he let things play out the way that they did, really trying not to give spoilers. And I had to go back and explain this private's entire childhood and background, and you know, my husband was like, well, I still wouldn't have done that, but in a way it makes more sense the way that it's written in the book. You kind of just have to get behind these characters' mindsets, you know, try not to put your own experiences on them and your own like presumptions. But that was one of the biggest changes. The other change that I thought was interesting that they left out, something huge, is that one of the biggest conflicts in this book is our main characters having to go against the remaining humans, the survivors who live on the outside of the fences. Like, that was a huge conflict in the book that was left out in the movie. Honestly, I didn't miss it in the movie that much. After watching the movie, I reflected back on the book and thought, well, maybe that was just put there because we kind of assumed that something like that would happen. I don't know, it made sense in the book. It made sense not to have it in the movie. So either way, I thought it was more pivotal than it was, but maybe it wasn't. And I mean, there were some things at the end that were different. There were some ways that, you know, things kind of played out that were different. There were scenes that were missing, but I didn't care. The movie was such a good adaptation. I thought that the actors did a good job. The only thing that I didn't like about the movie is that we don't get to look into those characters as much as we should. There's a little bit of a hint about Miss Justineau's history and why she is so adamant about saving Melanie, but it's minuscule and it's just hinted at. Like, you don't even, if you look away for a second, if you're caught in conversation, you'll miss it. It's maybe like 5 seconds on screen, and then that's it. So again, you kind of just have to dispel your own beliefs and your own background and just go along with what the characters are deciding and just deal with that. But I really did appreciate this. And yeah, I would highly suggest this to anyone. I thought until I suggested it to my friend Deandra, and she listened to the audiobook. I think she listened to the audiobook over the course of like 2 days, and she was very upset with it. And it does, let me put it this way, it does not have a happy ending. And that's all I will say. So, and I mean, yeah, I was not expecting the ending that it had. It does not have a happy ending. So if you want a happy ending, don't read this book. I guess that's the only demographic of people that I wouldn't recommend it to. She said it left her feeling like really empty and sad, and I felt bad about that, but I like feeling empty and sad after books. So if you like feeling empty and sad after a book, if you like action and plot, and if you like really awesome differing character development, this is the book for you. All right, so that is it for The Girl with All the Gifts. I think my next video will be a February wrap-up. This is like a month of amazing reads for me. Right now I'm reading The Handmaid's Tale. I plan on reading Practical Magic after that, and then Red Clocks, and I want to do a review on Red Clocks as well. So I'm reading Handmaid's Tale first, taking a break, getting Practical Magic because I hope it's not overdue already, and then Red Clocks, and then another fun book. Okay, before I finish, another fun book that I found and I'm like geeking out over, I have got to get to it, is this. I believe it's nonfiction. All I saw was how language began and the story of humanity's greatest invention. I am the first person to check this book out and I want to read it so badly. I don't know why, but it's calling to me and I need to read it. Anyways, I hope you all have a great day, a great week, and thank you for watching my video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what, my battery is running low. And let me know what you're reading, if you've read The Girl with All the Gifts, and let me know what you think about it. All right, thanks, bye.